بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم. اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. In the last session we talked about what we mean by Islamic management, and then we said how can Islam as a religion have impact on our management. We said Islam can shape and inform our understanding of the values and the worldview, which would directly have impact on our management, and we gave few examples, few areas that you can see the difference between the way we look at management and people who don't believe in faith or don't bring their faith into their management. Now we want to go into a very important aspect of management, whether it be managing your own personal life, family life, community, business, whatever. A very important element of management is planning. If we don't plan and we don't work for implementing our plan and we don't monitor our success in implementing our plan, there is no management. If we just do things as they happen, this is not management. Management certainly requires planning, and planning, of course, is something that needs information, needs experience, needs consultation. Inshallah, later we will talk about these things when we talk about how to make decisions. In this session, I will talk more about planning, and I hope it would be useful for us in our personal life also. So if you are not a manager in a company or whatever, still it will be useful for you. 3 years ago, I had a lecture about how to plan our day and life, and that is also available. That's more detailed about personal life, and this can be a good addition to that lecture. One of the things that is very amazing is how Islam puts emphasis on planning and order. You all know that Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, in his will, he said to his children and then whoever receives this will, that I advise you to observe taqwa and nazm. أوصيكم بتقوى الله أوصيكما بتقوى الله والنظم أمركم. I advise you to, and whoever receives my kitab, my message, to have taqwa. Of course, this is very obvious. We expect taqwa to come at the top of the list, but then he says وَنَظْمَ أَمْرِكُمْ. We don't expect nazm to be mentioned second to taqwa. If nazm is important, first of all, we think it's not a religious quality, it's a kind of secular quality, or quality that everyone should have, whether they are religious or not. And if it has any religious significance, we don't expect it to be so important that Amir al-Mu'minin in the last few hours or maybe minutes of his time, he mentions nazm next to taqwa. But the reality is that Amir al-Mu'mineen is very well aware that without nazm, many times even our taqwa is in danger. If you don't have nazm, many times you are not able to perform your wajibat. Whether it's your salat, your fasting, your hajj, your khums, or other wajibat that we have with respect to family, with respect to humanity, with respect to the jobs that we have undertaken and we have committed ourselves, with respect to the promises that we have made. If we don't have nazm, we are not able to fulfill our responsibility. So he says, Usikuma, and my children and whoever receives this will to have taqwa and nazm amr. But I've been thinking about the difference between nazm, which means being punctual, and planning, and thought maybe perhaps we can say planning is not exactly like nazm. Planning is something that helps with being punctual. And being punctual also helps with your plans becoming successful. So they are not exactly the same. For example, maybe there are people that are very punctual when to wake up, when to have their breakfast, when they go, for example, for walking, when, I don't know, they go to the office. They are very punctual, but it's routine. No plan for success, no plan for progress, nothing, is changing. Actually, many times those who have punctuality, they become very rigid and they are not flexible for progress, they are not flexible for change, they are not happy to learn anything. Sometimes it happens like this. So punctuality is different from planning. But planning is always to have a kind of a view, a kind of consideration for future. People who plan are never living in the past or present. They are aware of past and present, but they always think about future. It's very good that if you think about future, because past has already gone, and by the time you want to do something in the present also joins the past. You have to have a plan for future. Of course, taking into account the present and the past. So those who plan means they are somehow farsighted. They are optimistic. Because if you are not optimistic, also you don't plan. If you think things are predestined or things are out of our control, or there are people in the world that they control everything, no matter how much we make efforts, we cannot do anything. Everything is dark, everything is negative, everything is sad, everything is against us, then you are not going to plan. So, planning requires to be thinking about future, to be positive, to think that you can bring change, to think that you have enough of means and resources to bring even little change. We will talk about this inshallah later. But if you have planning and no commitment to your plan, if you have planning and no nazm, no plan can be successful. Many times people have very good plans, but the reason they are not successful is not because they don't have good plans, because they are not implementing the plans. Many countries have good regulations and law, but they don't implement, therefore they don't make success. So nazm is very important, but it's not enough. It needs planning. Now, in your planning, you should consider few things. One is that you don't have infinite time. You cannot, relax and for every decision, take months or years to plan. Time is very short and limited. And even time still is larger than opportunities. So suppose you have 20, 30 years time from now on, inshallah you have more, but suppose you have 20, 30 years to plan. But do you have 20, 30 years of opportunities? Opportunities are even less than the time that we have. Opportunities are coming sometimes very late and many times unexpectedly. Imagine if you are waiting for someone to come and he comes late and unexpectedly. So by the time you have left and started doing something else, that person comes. You always miss. So when it comes to opportunities, you have to be always alert, not to rush, because they come late, unexpectedly, and they leave soon. اغتنموا الفرص فإنها تمر مر السحاب. They come very slowly and so quietly that you don't notice. Like when the clouds move, many times we don't feel they are moving. They move so slowly that you don't feel they are moving, and all of a sudden you realize they have already gone. So we don't have that much time, let alone opportunities. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam said, Al-fursatu sari'atul fawt wa bati'atul aud. Opportunities come late, very quickly they stop, they disappear, and they are very slow in returning. Don't say, inshallah it comes again. When you have opportunity for doing something good, don't think it will remain or it will repeat. For example, now, alhamdulillah, we had the opportunity to get together for learning, for some discussion. Some people, I'm sure, they thought they love to join, but they thought, inshallah, next time. Inshallah, another opportunity will come. But who knows? Maybe this is not going to repeat. So, sari'atul fawt, they are very fast in expiring. Wa bati'atul aud, very slow in returning if they return. Fakhr al-Razi has a beautiful story under Surah Al-Asr. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر. Truly man is in loss. What does loss mean? Sometimes we think loss means I'm not making profit. I'm not making, more. But he says, I heard a person who was selling ice. When you go to hot countries, you see sometimes on the street there are people who sell ice. Maybe they have a little, cabin or a little, I don't know, something to cover ice, but sun is so hot that you see water is coming, ice is melting. So this person used to say, Irhamu man yadhubu ra'su malihi. Irhamu man yadhubu ra'su malihi. He was saying to people, have mercy on the one whose capital is melting. This is why many ulama have said, khusran is not just not to make profit. Khusran is when even your capital is being reduced, is in loss. And then he said, this is our life. Because whether you gain something or not, life is finishing. So your capital is in loss. There is another story that how we should be concerned about our life. They say a needy person, a beggar, went to a shopkeeper and said, give me a pack of walnut. He said, I'm not going to give you a pack of walnut. What type of beggar you are? You're asking for a pack of walnut. He said, okay, I sit here. Give me one walnut. So he gave him one walnut. After 1 hour, he said, give me one more walnut. So he was not able to say no. Then he said, look, I am now taking your time and I'm not going to disappear unless I take all this pack from you. It's better that if you give me quickly. Many times, if someone comes to and tell us, give me money, we are worried. Give me your car, give me your book, we are worried. But with time, especially if it is little by little, we are not that much worried. If someone says, give me 100 hours, I am worried. But if someone little by little takes 100 hours of my time, we are not very worried. But it should be opposite. Your concern about your money should be less than your time. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Kun ala umrika ashahha minka ala dirhamika wa dinarik." When it comes to your life, be more miserly than your gold and silver. So, in your planning, you should be always mindful that time is very limited. Many people, I think more than 90% of people, even if they are old, they are surprised by death. Don't say, because I am 20 or 30, if I die, I'm surprised. No, even people who are 100 years, normally death comes baghtatan, because everyone thinks death is for others. There is a kind of what we call in logic istiqra, induction. You say, so far everyone who has died was other than me. Yes? So how many people have died? They were all other than me. So I have done induction that 1 million times other than me have died. Therefore in future also people other than me will die. It's a kind of fallacy that we all make. Another thing that we have to observe in planning is, in addition to limit of life, in addition to the limit of the opportunities, there is always a timing that if you observe that timing, you may get the result or better results. If you don't observe that time, for example, maybe I have opportunity for learning for 10 years, 20 years. But Sometimes there is a time that is the best time for that. We want to buy, for example, a place for masjid. I don't know. We want to start a school. We want to do some project. Sometimes there is a special time that you have to observe. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said something which has become very famous. Al-umuru marhunatun bi'awqatiha. All the affairs depend on their own times. A wise person, an insightful person, especially a manager, needs to know the exact time. For example, you want to expand your business. I don't know, whatever you want to do, you want to borrow money, you want to start employing people, you want to offer a course. The time is very important. If you do it before, earlier, you may not get the result. If you delay too much, you may not get the result. So this is why wisdom and time management and time selection are very much related. To manage time, to select proper time. One of the things that people who are successful have is that they have ambition. Alhamdulillah, a few months ago in Canada when we had retreat, I talked about ambition, and I had, I think, 2 sessions on ambition. It's available if you want. What is ambition and why we should have ambition? Simply, if you don't have ambition and you are just pleased with little things, you will never make good progress. A mu'min should be ambitious. A mu'min should have greatest hopes, greatest ideas, but not in dunya. Don't say, I am very ambitious, I want most of the properties in London to belong to me. If not, at least one, area of London. No, this is not ambition. If you have the whole dunya, still, this is not sign of ambition. But when it comes to being a good person, to developing your virtues, developing your talents, your skills, helping people, reaching higher levels of spirituality, getting to the best places in heaven, you have to be ambitious. In Dua Kumail we say, Allahumma ja'alni min ahsana abidaka nasiban indak. I want to be humble, but at the same time, when it comes to nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I can be humble and ambitious. I don't deserve, but I can ask. If you feel too shy to ask, or if you feel too embarrassed to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you may not get it. So you have to ask and work for it, but with humility. Allahumma ja'alni min ahsana abidaka nasir. Oh Allah, please include me among the people who have the greatest achievement when it comes to nearness to you, when it comes to having some enjoyment from you. Wa aqrabihim manzilatan minka. Those who have the nearest position to you. Those who have nearest and zulfa. Or for example, Imam Zainul Abidin says, أجزلهم من ودك قسما أوفرهم منك حظا. These are things which are in our du'as. Or for example, in month of Ramadan, Allahumma inni as'aluka an tukrimani bihawan man shi'ta min khalqik. Oh Allah, honor me, and if it needs, I then pass some people, and some people, come lower, it doesn't matter. I don't want anyone to come down, but I don't want also to be second or third or last. I want to be among the best. So ambition is very important. And ambition and planning should come together. You should not be satisfied with little progress, little success. You should be ambitious, but realistically. I cannot expect too much from my team. I cannot expect too much from my resources. Even I cannot expect too much from my body, because then I can endanger my health. But realistically, I should not be satisfied with anything other than the best I can do, other than the best our team can do, especially for a moment whose trust is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You may say, our time is very short. What should we do? We have so many responsibilities. Our time is very short. I cannot, in my personal life, study what I want, do what I want, learn what I want. What should I do? The key thing again is planning and punctuality. I read that Sheikh Ansari, rahmatullah alayh, although he was a teacher, a great teacher, he was a marja', and it is said that he also had to look after his old mother, but he used to recite 1 juz Quran every day, do namaz Ja'far Tayyar, recite ziyarat Jama'ah, and recite ziyarat Ashura. To me, it's like impossible. How can a marja who has to deal with people, leading Salatul Jama'ah, dealing with istifta'ah, teaching, having old mother, having family, then you do all these things? Ayatollah Sheikh Muhammad Hussein Isfahani Qarawi, teacher of Ayatollah Khui, they say every day he was reciting 1000 Surah Qadr. Someone who has many books, many students, how can they do that? It's because of nazm, because they are very careful about every minute of their life. The grandchild of Imam Khomeini says that Imam Khomeini never wasted even 1 minute of his life. We could not see him waiting for something and wasting his time. He was doing something. He had particular time for his study, for his ibadah, for his family, even for his walking. And when walking, for example, listening to radio or, doing, Ziyara Ashura. And in Najaf, it's very famous that he was so punctual in going for Salatul Jama'ah that some shopkeepers used to set their watch with him. They knew exactly what time he's coming and going, not earlier, not later. When he was in exile in Turkey for a few months, he wrote Tahrir al-Wasila. If I am put in exile, it takes me 1 year to adjust. Yeah? I have to, worry, suffer, what I'm going to do. But when he went to exile, he wrote Tahrir al-Wasila, which might be one of the best books on fiqh in our contemporary time. Is much better than his Risala, it's much more detailed. It has all sections of fiqh. So he wrote in exile. Faiz Kashani, you might have heard his name, Mullah Muhsin Faiz Kashani. He is one of our great ulama. He has many, many books, mashallah, in tafsir, in hadith, akhlaq. He has a book of poem called Taqdis. And it is said that he compiled it using the time he was going to washroom. So every day when he was going to washroom a few minutes, his mind was doing something productive. One of the scholars, it said that when he was waiting for the food to become ready and cold, he was writing something. And then all of this became a book. And he called it 5 minutes before food. So even 5 minutes before food. One of our contemporary Maharajas said, when he was very young, he read 8 volumes of book on Imam Ali by, Abdul Fattah Abdul Maqsood, one of Egyptian writers. He has one book on Imam Ali, 8 volumes in Farsi translated. He said he read all of it on the bus in Tehran, going from one place to another. He read all 8 volumes on the bus. So, if we have punctuality and commitment with good plan, we can do many, many things. Sahibul Urwa, rahmatullah alayh, he says, Tawzi'ul waqti tawsi'uh. If you distribute and allocate your time properly, you are expanding your time. It seems for some people 24 hours is just 4 hours. For some people 24 hours is like 200 hours. When you look at what they have achieved in life, yeah? If you look at what, for example, Allama Majlisi has done with his life, what Mullah Mohsen Faiz Kashani has done with his life, you wonder, did they live, secretly more than us or not? And very important aspect of planning is to prioritize. I think this is where you find who is wiser, who is more experienced. Our challenge today, I'm talking about mu'minin. Our challenge today is not to do haram, for example, not to do something harmful. Inshallah, for the most part, we are saved from this. Our challenge today as persons and community is to do something which is good, but not priority. To do mustahab, but not wajib. Or to do wajib, but not awjab. Sometimes there is tazahum, there is conflict between 2 wajib. I cannot do both. I have to do al-aham fal-aham. In usul al-fiqh we have this rule. We say when there is tazahum, you have to understand which one is the more important. For example, very classic example is someone is drowning in a swimming pool and my salat is becoming qaza. What should I do? For sure, if say my salat is on time, you know that no, I have to save that person. But when salat is becoming qaza, some people say, no, now I have to save this person, but my salat becomes qaza, is haram. So let me save my salat, and if he's alive, I will save him. But no, you have to save him, and then you do qaza, salatul qaza. This is a very classic example. Many times in our life, we have to choose between good and better, between what is necessary and what is more necessary. Not between good and bad. Choosing between good and bad, it doesn't need that much wisdom or knowledge or experience, yeah? Inshallah, our challenge is not whether I should do wajib or haram, or whether I should do something good or bad. Our challenge is not, for example, whether I should go to a bad movie or bad place or go to masjid. It's not our challenge. Our challenge is I can sit at home, for example, and read something, do some ibadah, or I can go to masjid. I can, for example, give money for this cause, or I can, for example, use it for my own ziyarah, for example. These are things that are our challenge. We have to understand priorities, and priorities must be understood without selfishness, even religious selfishness. There is a kind of selfishness that the religious people have. And this is different from ambition. This is greediness, and greediness is different from ambition. For example, I told you in previous, term that sometimes people go to the shrine and they know that near the head of Imam, we say Balasar, it's very good to say your Salat, especially Salat Ziyarah. But then they become greedy. 2 rak'ah, 4 rak'ah, 6 rak'ah, 8 rak'ah, 10 rak'ah, 20 minutes, 1 hour. And when they see no one, they relax and they do nothing. As soon as someone comes, they start doing, so that they say, I am not yet finished. This is not good. Do 2 rak'ah and give your place to someone else. I think this is more pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than being selfish. Yeah? When it comes, for example, to Salatul Jama'ah, the first row of Salatul Jama'ah has more reward, especially on the right side of Imam. Everyone should try to be there, but we shouldn't fight over this. I shouldn't leave that place empty, but if I see other people want to go, Bismillah, I am more than happy if you want to go. Sometimes we think religious things are also like worldly things, that we have to fight over them. No. Here, by offering chance to other people, they can also benefit. So, to understand priorities needs not to be selfish, needs to be having the whole picture in your mind, knowing what is the best. And now, when it comes to managing a company or an organization or, community, you have to have all the secular and religious things together and then understand what is priority. Sometimes, for example, I can easily, instead of having 1 office, have 10 offices. Instead of having 10 employees, I can have 100 employees. But is this priority or not? Might be not. You cannot just go by quantity. You cannot just be thinking that, I want to make more and more money. So priority is to be observed, and inshallah, another thing that we need to talk, but I think we'll leave it for, inshallah, next session, is how we can benefit from experiences of other people. You are not expected to know everything. You are not expected to have solution for everything. Aqil is not necessarily the most knowledgeable person. Wise is not necessarily the most knowledgeable person. But wise person is the one who knows how to collect information, how to consult people, and add to his own understanding. I can be the least experienced person, but with little wisdom, go to the people who are experienced and benefit from them. And I can be very experienced and then become arrogant and make funny mistakes because I didn't want to ask. I didn't want to say, I need advice. Inshallah, we will talk about this because a very important part of management in Islam is mashwara. Even Rasulullah was asked to do consultation. Inshallah, we will talk about it. We have many things to cover, and I hope many of these things are just reminders. I don't think we need to learn strange things, but to put them together and be committed to them, inshallah, will help us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us utilize our life in the most efficient and productive way. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open our eyes to the opportunities which are there and see them and acknowledge them and benefit from them. Bihaqq Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.